Weird School. Miss Daisy is Crazy by Dan Gunman. Picture by Jim Palet. Chapter 4 Miss Daisy is Crazy. In the lunchroom, I opened my lunchbox and saw that my mom had penned me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I traded with Michael Robinson for his potato chips. Everybody was talking about Miss Daisy. Miss Daisy is crazy, Ryan said. She's the weirdest teacher I ever had, said Emily. She can read, she can write, and she can even do arithmetic. What kind of teacher is that? A bad one, I said. Hey, I just thought of something. Michael Robinson was able to say even so. His mouth was filled with peanut butter. Do you think that maybe Miss Daisy isn't a really teacher at all? What do you mean? Ryan asked. Maybe she's an imposter, said Andrea. An imposter? What's that? I asked. Somebody who impost? No, silly. An imposter is somebody who pretends to be somebody else, Andrea explained. She might be a fake teacher. Maybe Miss Daisy is really a jewel thief or a bank robber, I gasped. Maybe she snuck into school and is hiding so the police won't catch her. I think you are the one who's crazy, Andrea giggled, choking on her milk. But what if Miss Daisy was a bank robber, or she could be horse thief or a cattle rustler, or somebody who parked where there is a yellow line on the curve. My head was starting to fill with all kind of awful things Miss Daisy could be. Maybe Miss Daisy kidnapped our weird teacher and he is holding her for ransom, I suggest. Wow, you think so? Emily asked, looking all scared. What ransom? Asked Ryan. My mom telling me I'm handsome. Michael Robinson exclaimed. Not handsome, ransom, said Andrea. I don't know what it is, but whenever somebody is kidnapped, they get haired forehead. It's cartoon people who get kidnapped are always tied up to railroad track. I remind everybody, maybe our real teacher is tied up some railroad track right now. We got to save her, said Emily, and she ran running out of their lunchroom. Wait a minute, said Michael Robinson. That doesn't make sense. If Miss Daisy can't even read or do arithmetic, how is she going to be able to kidnap our teacher and tie her to right track? She doesn't look like a kidnapper to me, Ryan said. We should tell Principal Klotz, said Andrea. He'll know what to do. No, I shout. Don't you see how good we have it? If we tell Principal Klotz how dumb Miss Daisy is, he will fire her and replace her with a real teacher. A real teacher who knows reading and writing and arithmetic will have to learn all the stuff. You don't want that, do you? No way, said Michael Robinson. I don't care if she's an imposter or a bank robber or kidnapper, I said. I like her. I say we keep her. Me too, Michael Robinson agreed. I think she's cool. Okay, let's not tell anybody, I said. It will be our little secret. We all agreed our lips would be sealed, but not sealed with glue or anything. That would be gross. Chapter 5 The Most Genius Idea. After lunch we had recess, which means we get to go out in the playground and run around. Miss Daisy said we need to burn on energy. Now this is more my style, I announced when we got outside. I made a beeline for Monkey Bar. Then me and some other kid hit the swing. After that, all the boys had a contest to see who would spin around in the circle the longest without throwing up. Michael Robinson ran, then we all sat down in the grass. Even so, Miss Daisy was pretty cool. We all agreed that we hate school. We made a promise to one another that we would hate school forever, even if we change our mind and decide that we like school. That's when Ryan came out with the most genius idea in the history of the world. This was his idea. We should buy the school. Ryan told us that his father worked for this big company and that once his father complained about some another company, just like you could go into a store and buy a candy bar. Ryan said it happened all the time. He said it didn't seem any reason why we couldn't buy the school just like that. If we bought the school, what would we do with it? Michael Robinson asked. We could do anything we want with it. We'd own it. Could we turn it into video games arcade? I asked. Sure, why not? Instead of teaching reading and writing and arithmetic, we could teach kids how to play video games. And we could ride skateboard in the hallways, asked Michael Robinson. Should we could? Sure we could, Ryan said, if we own it. I got up excited because if they run things that I like to do almost as much as playing football, it's playing video games. Oh, and riding skateboard. I started inputting out my pocket. I have a nickel, 3 pennies, and a lifesaver. The other boys emptied their pockets too. We separated all the pennies, nickels, and dimes in little piles. Then we add up all the monies. We had $1.32. Wow, Michael Robinson said. That's a lot of money. I don't think it's enough to buy a school, said Ryan, who knew a thing or two about financials matters because his father worked for this big company. Well, how much do you need to buy a school? I asked. Bit me, said Ryan. We better ask Miss Daisy. We all rushed inside after recess and asked Miss Daisy how much it could cost to buy a school. Gee, I don't know, said Miss Daisy, who didn't seem to know much of anything. Why do you want to buy the school? We want to turn it into a video game arcade, I told her. What a great idea, she beamed. I love video games. There are so many schools and so few video games arcade. It makes perfect sense to turn some of the South's school into video games arcade. I arranged a meet with Miss Klutz tomorrow so we can ask him if we can buy the school. But right now we have to go to Miss Cody's office. Mrs. Cooney's office is down the hall from out of class. She says she's the school nurse, but personally, I think she's a spy. I'll tell you why. There's a big poster on her wall that says this. I tried to read it and it didn't make any sense at all. Even Andrea Young didn't know how to read a poster, and she knew everything. I think Miss Cooney has create a secret code, and she used that poster to send mystery spy messages. I will have to keep an eye on her. When we walked into Mrs. Cooney's office, she had us all lined up in a size order. I was one of the shortest kids, so I have to stand in the front of the line. Then Mrs. Cooney told us to take off our shoes. And first I thought she didn't want us to track mud all over her office, but then she told us that she was going to weigh and measure us. Obviously, she's trying to gather information about us, because that is what spies do. My friend Billy says that heavier you are, the smarter you are, because heavy people have bigger brains. But I think Billy just says that because he's overweight. I weigh 52 pounds. Miss Cooney showed us this awesome roses she has. It is made of material as stretches out 6 feet long. When she presses a button, the whole thing shoots into her hand and disappears like a magic. That is cool. I bet she has a lot of another spy too. She wouldn't let us play with her magical rulers, but Mrs. Cooney ran around measuring everything. She showed us that the bench we were sitting on was 17 inches high. The door to her office was 30 inches across. and her foot was 12 inches long. Hey, my foot is our food! Mrs. Cooney exclaimed. Aren't all feet are fit food? I asked. Some feet are less than food, and some feet are more than food, she replied, but my foot is exactly a food. I have no idea what she was talking about. Mrs. Cooney wrapped the measure tapes around her forehead and announced, Look, my head is almost 2 feet in circumference. I knew that circumference was the distance all the way around a circle, and the diameter was the distance through the middle of a circle. What's the diameter of your head, Mrs. Cooney? I asked. Everybody laughed. It was I didn't say anything funny. That would be hard to measure, but isn't measure things fun? Miss Cooney asked. I wonder how much the scales weigh. Mrs. Cooney started to measure and weigh more things, but Miss Daisy said we have to go back to class. Chapter 6. What do you want to be? At the end of the day, Miss Daisy sat on the floor and we all sat around her. She told us to talk about what we want to be when we grow up. I want to be veterinarian, said Andrea Young. Does anybody know what the word veterinarian means? Asked Miss Daisy. That's somebody who doesn't eat meat, said Michael Robinson. It is not, I said. That's a vegetarian. A vegetarian isn't somebody who fought in a war. That's a veteran, Miss Daisy said. Andrea, would you like to tell the class what a veterinarian does? A veterinarian is an animal doctor. That Andrea Young thinks she's known everything, but for once I knew she was wrong. Animal can't be doctors, I said. Everybody laughed. It was that I didn't say anything funny. Miss Daisy said a veterinarian is a doctor who takes care of animals. That made a lot of more sense than that dumb thing Andrea said. Emily was next, and she said she wanted to grow up and become a nurse in a hospital. Why do you want to do that? I asked. Because come into the hospital is all sick and injured and are felt of that. God's hanging out. AJ, Miss Daisy said in her serious voice. Emily got all upset and ran out of the room crying. What did I say? I asked. What do you want to be when you grow up, AJ? Miss Daisy asked. I'm going to be a famous football player, I said. Really? And why do you choose that field? Because I love football, I said, and if I was a football player, I wouldn't have to read or write or do arithmetic or go to school. My friend Billy told me that football players are really dumb. Your friend told you that? Said Miss Daisy. Yeah, Billy is really smart. He also told me that if you dig a hole deep enough, you can dig all the way to China. And if you want into that hole, you fall the way sort of ours and pop right out the other side, and you'll be moving so fast that you shoot all the way into outer space. Michael Robinson said that some sounds cool. It's decided that instead of becoming a firefighter, he wants to become one of those hole-digging astronauts. Emily came back into the room with a tissue. Everybody else went out into the circle saying what they want to be. This girl named Linda said she wanted to be a singer. Ryan said he wanted to be a businessman like his dad. And Ray Young said that if she couldn't be a vegetarian, she wanted to be a teacher like Miss Daisy. Then she gave Miss Daisy a big smile. I hate her.